Welcome back to Project 613. Today we learn the Mitzvot regulating the allowance that a worker has to partake of the food that he is working from at the time that he is working. If you remember, we learned yesterday that one of the rights that the Torah gives to a worker who is working with food is that he is allowed to eat from the food he is working with, and his employer has to allow him to eat from the food. However, the Torah sets in place certain regulations and restrictions in order to make sure that the worker doesn't abuse this right that he is given. And there are two specific mitzvot about this. Number one, the worker is only allowed to eat once he has completed his job. So if, let's say, he's talking about grain that is still attached and he is harvesting that grain, so only once he finishes his job of harvesting that grain and it's already in the basket, it's already in the bundle, then he can eat from some of it. But at the time that he is actually cutting the grain, then he wouldn't be able to eat. If, on the other hand, he is working with already harvested grain, already harvested produce, then he is allowed to eat from it so long as he hasn't completely finished this job and moved on to another one. But once he's moved on to another job, he wouldn't be allowed to partake from that food. So this is one way where the Torah restricts the ability that the worker has to eat from the food at the time that he's working. The second mitzvah that we learned today is that although we learned yesterday that the allowances that a worker is allowed to take however much he wants, not however much he wants, however much he needs until he is satisfied. So the amount that the Torah sets is until he is satisfied. Nevertheless, that only applies for the time that he is working. He cannot fill up his basket and take it home with him to eat later or to give to his family. This is another way that the Torah protects the employer, where the employee is not going to walk off with extra food that he's just going to take home for tomorrow night's dinner. That would not be allowed, and that would be a violation of this prohibition. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.